conversation.
yeah,
How are you
man.
doing, James?
AI won't take our jobs. AI is just taking the jobs we're supposed to get from other people. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, look, it's going to be, we're going to go back to farming very quickly. It's another
I don't know.
Friday,
Have you seen the
1
robots?
p.m. You've seen the robots, that's true. What are we doing to ourselves? Just a quick checkup on the feeds to make sure everything is looking good. There we go. You can see something. Can we see everything? There we go. All right. Yeah, it seems good. It's a small operation, so we have to tech check ourselves. What are you up to? What you've been up to, James? Has it been a productive week? Have you been a productive member of society this week?
Yeah, paid my taxes, did my work, all the usual nonsense. Not enough time to play games, though. I will say, if you're a Phasmophobia fan, new updated map came out this week. So last night we were playing on a bit through that, so a lot of fun. And if you don't know anything about Phasmophobia, if you like ghost hunting, or if you're really scared of ghost hunting, and you want to play with friends or solo, if you're crazy, Phasmophobia. It's been going for a couple of years. They're busy overhauling it. I mean, a great game. I can't get enough
Oh,
of it.
nice. I've heard good things about it, but I don't think I'm going to venture into scaring the living daylight out of myself. Thank you.
No, it's worth it. I don't get that people saying, "Ooh, it's scary." I mean, it's like watching a horror movie. Anyway,
It's
you play the
freaky.
friends. There's nothing quite like being dared by your friends or told by your friends, like, "Okay, it's your turn to go hide in the closet so we can get a recording of this thing's voice," or some crap like that. And how the game works is you have to find clues to figure out what kind of ghost it is. And you got various things: UV, sound, temperature, things like that, electromagnetic field. So you've got to go in and get readings. But the ghost will cause events, and at some points will go hunting. And when it goes hunting, it can kill you. So you need to get these clues without the ghost killing you. And that sometimes means, like last night, I was hiding in a closet with a recorder lying over there, and I could hear this ghost walking up and down the corridor. At one point, it actually started pulling on the doors, and I had to grab the doors and hold them closed. So it's
That's what I
unnerving, but
mean.
it's good fun. I mean, it's actually, and when you're
That
playing
sounds
it
like
with
it.
friends, it's really good. So Phasmophobia, and like I said, they're busy overhauling the maps one by one, so they're looking really good these days.
Oh, wow. Nice. Yeah, look, we need our horror games to look even more realistic than what they are, right? So well
Mm.
done. The biggest news in gaming this week, I think, though, is undoubtedly this little gem. For anybody that has not seen it, if I can share my screen quick enough. There we go, Stage Tour. Now, we were massive fans of rhythm games back in the day, James. I fondly remember us playing the Xbox version of Guitar Hero back in the day in the office. It was a big thing. And it was one of the first real, I bought the Xbox 360 because I wanted to get hold of, among other games, Guitar Hero. But also, I actually put a lot of effort into actually getting Guitar Hero itself. I haven't bought many console peripherals like that over the years, like the skateboard or the drums or these things or the DJ. But yeah, the guitar was the one thing. How do you feel about arguably the grandfather of, or what? Not the grandfather. Arguably the best rhythm game out there, Guitar Hero, coming
I
back
mean,
in a different
we've
form.
spoken about before. It's unassailable in that category, especially Guitar Hero 2. You just cannot you cannot beat for what it did. And I'd almost say it was a bit of lightning in a bottle, because there were many games that came out after that. Last year, last show, one of the visitors, one of our attendees, also spoke about I think Threats of Fire, which is the open source one. You obviously had what's it? There was EA brought out a couple of more. There was that one that you could
Rock
learn how to
Band,
play
yeah.
guitar,
Oh
Rock
yeah,
Band,
Guitar.
Guitar Smith, and all that. And yeah, I don't know. It began and ended for me. It began with Guitar Hero 1 and ended with Guitar Hero 2. And I think what made it very special was how sociable it was. We had lots of times where I had friends over and people who never played games. and they would come and they'd play Guitar Hero. They loved it. Even when I lived in Dubai for a while, that's what people played. Gamers, non-gamers, Guitar Hero was the big thing, and that it had great songs, it had great gameplay, and that's why
Yeah.
Stage Tour, I'm excited to that degree, because I told you last time as well, they tried to bring this format back through the Fortnite platform, but I think they half-assed it. So it's good to see this is apparently by the original developers. So yeah, I'm looking forward to Stage Tour.
There's an awesome interview with the developers. I don't have the link here somewhere, but I'll share it with you if you want. But you can just find it on YouTube if anybody wants to see it out. And I've started watching it last night. And they actually talk about the Fortnite iteration and how there are some aspects of that that actually worked for them, or that they found, there's some new things that's come out of it. So, and that's the kind of stuff that I think they're going to be implementing, or stuff that they're going to be improving on and then implementing. But I agree. And I think they'll also agree. Fortnite wasn't what it should have been. It was a kind of mocked version.
It lacked enough songs. I even bought songs on that, but I think but it lacked songs. But what was really lacking was that your mistakes didn't matter. It didn't affect the song. I don't know if you could fail the songs, but for example, in Guitar Hero, when you made a mistake, you had that weird twanging sound and all that, and you could screw it up. Where there were no stakes in the Fortnite version, so the combination of no stakes, where it just didn't have that right feel, and I thought was a limited range of songs. Also, I'm not a big fan of everybody can be the drummer or everybody can be the lead guitarist. I think there should be two modes. There should be a mode where everybody can play whatever they want, and there should be a mode where you actually different people in different groups, different instruments, etc. But fundamentally, the Fortnite issue to me was just it wasn't 100% what made Guitar Hero good, and that was the intensity of it.
Yeah, that's very true. One of the things, to get back to something you said now, was everybody can't be, the drummer or the bassist. But one of the things I believe that they're going to be introducing with the next one is to allow you, and I think this is going to be the mode that you're talking about. There will be a mode that you can then play. So so that you can have the fun parts of the song, essentially, where before you would just do the bass, you'd be dum da da dum da dum, which is not really exciting, right? In this mode, I think what it's going to allow people to do is anybody can then play the fun parts between rhythm, bass, whatever that may be, somehow incorporating that. So you just play the best parts of the song.
I'm interested to see how they do that, because that's actually what Guitar Hero did. If you go and look at the button combinations from Guitar Hero, it wasn't strictly lead or rhythm or bass. The way they did the combinations, it would play off the main track of the song, but it would incorporate different elements. So sometimes, without realizing it, some of the buttons replicated what the bass line was doing. Some of them was doing what the rhythm guitar was doing. Obviously, with the solos, a lot of it went into the solo stuff. So I think one of the strengths that Guitar Hero had is you didn't actually play a guitar. You played an amalgamation of various tracks on that song, various instruments. Because at the end of the day, this kind of game is not about playing a guitar. This is a rhythm game. So this is about hitting a pleasing rhythm. You when you play it, you want to have combos and switchovers and stuff that are fun from a gaming perspective. And so I'm curious to see how they're going to balance it. I also think that is why the Fortnite game or version ended up letting everybody play whoever they want, because you're right. If you only had to do it for the drum track or only had to do it for the bass line, if you had the AC/DC song, that would be the most boring drum track in the world, and if you were doing a Primus song, the only person who would have fun was the bassist. So I think it really depends on how they mix it up, and if they keep in mind that this is about a rhythm game, not playing an instrument. And I think that's also where some of the other games kind of lost the plot for me. But yeah, look, it's the right team of guys to go for it. I think, Rachel, my question for you is peripherals. Obviously, Guitar Hero was a phenomenon, but it's always the exception that a game sells with a peripheral and then still does well. Most games that sell with peripherals either don't do well or you have to buy that peripheral separately, like if it's a racing game and stuff. And I think that's also what harmed some of the later games, because you had to get too many different peripherals. So I don't know what you're feeling about the peripheral side of this.
Yeah, look, it's always a tricky thing if it costs a lot of money. I've just been trying to call up. There we go. There's a couple of guitar brands that have come on board, and I can't find the images now. There's a couple of really nice images of what the controllers look like. And I think they're putting a lot of effort into that this time around. There's a couple of, I do suspect we're going to get a keyboard-like thing that they maybe not have announced yet. There's a couple of things that they said they're kind of keeping, especially around the stage tour name. There's some kind of things, magic that's going to happen. But I'm a fan of the peripherals, to be honest with you. Every now and then I see a second-hand Guitar Hero, Xbox drum set, and I want to get it. But then again, when I played it back in the day, the experience wasn't as nice as what it was with either the mic or the guitar.
The guitar was the big hit, and then there were voice games, karaoke games. They did very well. And I think the drums and the bass always never really caught up with the rest of it. I'm also curious, peripheral prices, things like that. We'll have to see. Hopefully, I know we don't want to talk AI, but hopefully AI hasn't made things so expensive that you can't get a nice, guitar peripheral.
Yeah. What is that brand? I keep forgetting. Is it CDC Guitar Hero? I mean, their controllers. That's a third-party ones you can get now. What is it? There's Riffmaster, PDP. PDP is the one. Is it? Yeah. Why did I think CGC? Anyway, their controllers are about $2,500 to $3,000 from what I could calculate the last time I was looking in the UK. And if we're looking at branded controllers, I really hope they're not all going to be at that high-end price, because that would be a problem.
I think that they need, and maybe this is I don't want to be pessimistic about what these guys are planning, but the one benefit that Guitar Hero had back in the day is I'm pretty sure the publisher subsidized the controller, because they bundled the controller with the game, and that's how a lot of it was sold. And in fact, the attraction was then to buy a second controller so you could do multiplayer, etc. But I wonder, because if you're not going to subsidize it, if you're talking about $3,000 a controller, if you want to do player at $6,000, that you're getting into some very, very specialist area there. Whereas Guitar Hero was great because it fell into the same realm as stuff like the Wii and any kind of party game, party console, things like that. So yeah, look, I'm glad they're reviving it. I'm not entirely sure how it's going to work and the business model around this. But yeah, let's wait and see.
You'll even be able to get fret buttons now in various colors, James. I mean, isn't that the evolution? Is it sharing it now? Why is it not showing us?
When the fret buttons already in various colors, that's...
Yeah, but you can get replaceable parts now. That's the thing. And I think for what I'm reading into this is it's not just one or two things. It feels like they're building a broader ecosystem of the idea that was really popular. And again, I just started listening to that developer interview, and it sounds like these guys want to really make it a thing again and have the same amount of fun we used to have back in the day.
I hope they scale it. I hope they're smart. They don't go big bang, because we're seeing too much of that in gaming these days. I mean, High Guard, that shooter that now failed. Same problem. Like they come in like trying to shoot out the lights, and then it doesn't happen because for whatever reason, and then the investors pull out, and the whole thing just collapses. Whereas look at something, let's take Valve as an example of the Steam Deck. They've been very smart about how they roll that out, how limited they do it. They value maintaining. They'd rather have it limited and sustainable than to go big bang and try and change the world. And we're not in that world anymore. Guitar Hero came out at a time when you had lots of subsidies for consoles, when the console wars actually firstly meant they tried to make these machines affordable, and every year the machines got cheaper. We're on the opposite side of that now. There's no subsidies happening anymore. Consoles seem to be getting more expensive every year, and there isn't this appetite for cashing in on AAA stuff unless you really have a phenomenon going. So if they can create a phenomenon, they can get lots of big influencers to push this. If they can get good prices, and I think if they're smart, maybe just focus on the American market first, or something like that. Just don't make this available to everyone everywhere at once. Build a phenomenon, and then on top of that, they do have another advantage over previous. Guitar Hero in its day was a standalone game, where now you can really have more of a platform approach. You can have Guitar Hero the game. If they told me, hey, you can get Guitar Hero the game, and like every 6 months of the year, we're going to just release new songs or a new pack or something, you know, you could actually have a model that sustains itself over a long time. So there's a lot of potential, but I think if they're going to try and replicate the magic that you had back with Guitar Hero and Day, I think they're going to fail, because not that the idea is bad, it's just not the same world anymore. It's not the same gaming audience.
Yeah, we want AI guitars.
So they can play it for ourselves. Yeah, so I can go work in Excel while my AI plays games for me. Yeah, that sounds great.
All right. That's enough airtime for what I think is going to be one of the best games this side of the decade.
I am
Okay.
excited. Look, I am. I've also learned, like, yeah, you got to be careful, because everybody gets excited and then you see this nosedive. And just to close on that point, it's annoying that we have got a gaming media these days, especially among influencers, that love to kick something when it's down. And that's also why I'd rather guys take this slowly, make small steps, because you don't want to be another one of those companies that comes out big bang and you don't hit it perfect, and suddenly all these doomsayers on YouTube and Twitch and all that jump on board and crash your brand immediately, because they're just looking for likes and clicks and exposure. So I hope they take it small, they're smart with it. I think if they do it, it can really work.
Yeah, holding thumbs. But until we hear more of that, you had some demos you wanted to show us. Which one you want to kick off with?
So normally we do a demo for the week, but last week we spent a lot of time talking about NextFest, because the big demo showcase of Steam NextFest just happened. Now, after NextFest, Steam also releases a list of the most played demos. And last night I was just quickly browsing through them, seeing what's there. And I quickly picked out three demos that just stood out for me, and I think might interest people. So I think before introducing them, maybe you just want to start a video on one of these, and especially the first one. I think people need to see this to actually understand what they're going to get into.
Let's see if your first one is my first one. Is that the one?
No, we didn't start on that one. That's a good one.
Okay.
Darkhaven.
So,
all right. So Darkhaven is a game developed by people who previously worked on Diablo 1 and Diablo 2. It's an action RPG, and action RPGs are in a very exciting place at the moment, especially with stuff like PoE 2, Path of Exile 2, but also Diablo 4, and stuff at the start of Diablo 3. There's a lot of shift in combat dynamics, class dynamics, etc. And then there are a number of smaller action RPGs as well that are also doing well out there. So this is a new competitor, and you've got to stand out. So what they do differently here is, first thing you'll notice is destructible terrain. You can punch through walls, or you can actually apparently dig down and find dungeons and things like that. The maps are procedurally generated, so it's really about, there's always kind of a new experience. As you can see there, co-op and PvP. They also are touting a very interesting gear system that will be much more creative and inventive. So looks good. The response to the demo have been slightly mixed, but mainly because I think a lot of people say it's just a game that needs a little bit more time and development in the oven. But that's also why they bring out these demos, so they can get this kind of feedback. But if you're an action RPG fan, yes, Darkhaven. Awesome.
Definitely going to add that to the wish list. I like the add to the library. Yeah, let's do it. I like the destructible terrain aspect of it. Very
so the demo is still up. Go to all of these. The demo should still be up. Go try them this weekend. I don't know how long they're going to be up. So try these out when you get a chance.
All right. Is this the second one you were talking about?
Yes.
The first one?
Yes.
Okay.
This is so Richard, do you know what friend slop is?
Friend slop.
Yes.
Is that the something and friends? What was it called? Yes. No. Explain to us, please, because I don't.
if you've played games like Chained Together,
Oh,
but
right.
Peak, Phasmophobia, I suppose could count as but Friend Slop is basically, it was inspired. A bunch of games came out where you play with other friends. Usually, it's not asymmetric, so you're not playing one person against the rest. All of you are playing against the game, and you have to co-op play. It's pure co-op play to achieve some goal. And in Peak, it was about climbing to the highest hill. Chained Together, it's about getting out of hell. And in We Gotta Go, it's about taking a crap in a haunted house. Like, that is the plot. You, for some reason, have eaten a bad burrito or something, so you and your friends have to find the toilet in this haunted house, or either get killed by the monsters in there, or crap yourself, you know. So you've got to you scavenge for tools and things to explore the mansion. You apparently have to eat the right food to make sure you don't prematurely. There you go. Your bowels don't go. So complete toilet humor, like totally on the nose there. I mean, look at that. So yes, it's not one of these kind of co-op games that. But it has potential. I often look at these. You know, I play a lot of these co-op games with people and friends. I think RV There Yet is a new one that came out. I haven't tried it yet, but so I like the style of game. If you like being stupid with friends, I mean,
It seems
and
silly
look,
and fun, yeah.
it does, and also the French slop is actually a derogatory term people start coining because you start seeing a lot of asset flip games that just try to exploit this whole co-op thing. Because the gameplay loop is a lot like a roguelike. You pretty much die and then you start over, and maybe you have some upgrades and stuff. And the whole point is playing with your friends. So it's become very crowded, which means it's become very creative. And I honestly haven't seen one that involves, finding a toilet in a haunted house.
Very unique concept, and you got a Slimer there too, which is pretty cool.
Yes,
Slimer
yes.
version. Excellent. And then the last one, this is one I've had my eye on too. It looks pretty cool too.
Yes, this is Outbound. If you scroll there to the start, you'll find the video for it. You know by now, if you've watched his streams enough, I'm a fan of survival games. Games where you build stuff, collect stuff, etc. Now there is a subgenre in this called cozy genre survival games. The cozy survival games, there's no combat. You don't necessarily die easily, if at all. It's a lot more about the journey, exploring, having fun. And in this case, Outbound, you drive an old VW van, and on top of which you build a house, your base. Your base basically sits on top of that thing, and it looks like it's a collapsible base. But you travel this world, you scavenge, you expand your base, and I guess that's a gameplay loop. I haven't looked further into it, but I'm already sold on this because I enjoy this kind of game. I like survival games, so it's nice to have one where I don't have to constantly look over my shoulder or eat or things like that.
Yeah.
Like we're currently playing through Return to Moria, where you play the dwarfs and Lord of the Rings, and you go back into that mine and all that. And that's heavy survival. You got to fight, you got to scavenge food, you got to be smart. Where Outbound is very chilled. Solo play up to 4 players. Yep, I think this will be a fun one. Looks pretty as well. I really like this kind of.
Yeah, it's a nice style. Yeah, definitely. For sure. Well, thanks for that. Now we have even more games to play.
It's too many games.
Why? Too many, yeah. And we don't need another podcast to tell us we have so many games. Lord Razor commented just now. I didn't want to bring up this comment with all the other games, but referring to Dark Haven.
Dark Haven.
Saying it looks really good, I think. So
it is a game
cool.
made by action RPG enthusiasts and experts. Like I said, it's a bit of a mixed bag in the response, but when you're going to try something new, that's what you're going to have to expect some experimentation. So I think the demo's still up, and I think they will be releasing soonish. I'm not sure actually, but definitely go jump in and start following that one.
Excellent. Going to do that. So, guys, on to what are we going to call this? The main feature.
Yes,
The
red
main
hot spot.
feature. It's actually funny. The game that I'm chatting, what we'll be chatting about now, is actually one that throws me back to the days of Xbox 360 and Guitar Hero. And this game actually started originally not as a game itself, but as a mini game within another game. Now, let me show you that I found this Memory Death YouTuber who actually show this game in the mini game. Now, I can't hide the name, so you might see what the game is, but let's have a look and then you can see. Oh, shit. Let me just quickly share the screen. You should be able to hear it. Well, I don't know what the audio is like, but yeah, let's check.
And welcome back to another mini game roundup where I go and look at some of the mini games contained within larger games. And I am doing a blast from the past here, friends. We're back on the original Xbox, and we're playing Project Gotham Racing 2. If you go into garage mode and examine your car, you can actually walk away from it and come on over to an arcade machine here, which is playing Geometry Wars. Yeah, this is where Geometry Wars actually started from Project Gotham Racing 2, and from here on out, it actually became its own game and everything else. So, without further ado, let's go and play some Geometry Wars, shall
The
we?
sounds, eh?
Figure out exactly how to.
Yeah, spent
these
a lot
things.
of time playing the 360 version.
So Geometry Wars, it was another one. This was also the time that I had a very beautiful, what is it, a 40-inch TV, 50-inch TV. And Xbox hooked up to that, playing, not this version, well, this is where it started, but Retro Evolved was the one that we got into on the Xbox, which is also now available on Steam. So I'll show all those screens and give you all that information. So yeah, Retro Geometry Wars is a pretty interesting game, I would say, in the sense that visually it's stunning, but it's based on, I mean, old school asteroid style gaming, right? Now, I don't know, here's a quick little trivia question for you, James. Do you know what function, let me just call this up quickly, what function was this game used to test on the original Xbox?
Function? I don't know. I know
What hardware?
it tested the living hell out of my controllers.
Exactly, the analog sticks. Yeah.
Because it was a nice proper twin stick shooter, so you could like use
and you could flex. Yeah, you could flex. Those controllers quite nicely. So yeah, featured in Project Gotham Racing, and it eventually became its own game. And that was 2003 when it was an Easter egg in a mini game. But it was really the Xbox 360 era that unleashed the magic of this. I think the Xbox 360, I mean, everything was Xbox 360 back in the day, right? And let me just quickly call up that version because you want to see the visuals of Geometry Involved. Retro Evolved, for those that haven't seen it yet. James, you wanted to say something there?
No. I am quickly looking.
No. I thought I heard you take a side. Okay, so here we go. This is. I got way too many windows open here. Way too many windows. Where?
I was trying to see here because there have been a few clones on for that game over the years. But yes, we played a ton
and there's
of
also been a couple of new kind of games inspired by it. Oh, there we go, Steve. Flip. That was a mission and a half. So I caught it when I was looking at some specials, and this thing is only like $73. Can you believe it? Now we spend hundreds of rands.
Oh yeah, is it still on Steam? The original.
$73. You can buy alongside it. You can buy the entire Activision bundle for 13,500 rand if you want to do that.
Oh no, of course. You know, I've just got like like 20 grand lying around doing nothing. Yeah, how about I just do that? I mean, what on earth? 13,000, sure.
So let me just quickly, my tab is just closed. So there we go, Geometry Wars Retro Evolved. Obviously best played with a controller, to be honest with you. It's not really...
Oh, I mean, I can't imagine another way to play this. I know there are people who are hardcore mouse,
With AI.
keyboards, etc. But you gotta, you don't have the precision on the keyboard. You can't do that multi-directional swing. It's a twin stick shooter. It's called twin stick shooter for a reason, that genre. You need the two sticks, one to move and one to shoot, because and even today, if I can, like Vampire Survivor style games, which I see as in a way the spiritual successor for this. The only difference is here you still shoot and move, where with the Vampire Survivor style games, or I'd like to call them bullet heaven games, or not me, a lot of people call them bullet heaven games. You need such precision to sometimes move between crowds and stuff like that. And those games totally take from these style of games. So yeah, you can play this on keyboard. You can play anything on keyboard, but I really wouldn't recommend it. Totally. Get a nice controller. Get a nice controller with force feedback. That's how you want to play this. Yeah.
Ooh, force feedback controller. Something, yeah, that would be really fun.
Because it just built with the excitement.
Yeah. So there we go. There's some live gameplay. This was really, I mean, and what also was really amazing about playing this, it felt so immersive, standing in front of that screen. The music is pretty awesome as well.
The music was excellent.
Some of the sound effects there. And just the way that everything reacts to you as things explode, right? That movement around the squares.
Oh, I hated those squares because they could keep moving away from you. And then you had certain things that came straight at you every time. And it was always there was always a different tactic to different things and how you handled them. And you actually learned how to work of that. You knew which things, like those pink things would always go for you. So you would not worry about them immediately. You would track other things. And as they got closer, you would knock them out. Of course, you would often die because some things like the small pink boxes would just stay in one spot, and like you would get completely, you would just run into them, not seeing them, like some idiot standing in the road. But of course, you also kept trying to boost your power-ups so you can get better weapons, better spray, and all that. So you kind of knew at a certain point when you were going to fail because you weren't picking up your power-ups fast enough for the amount of stuff thrown at you.
Indeed. Sorry, I was just throwing something else up there. There was also, I don't know if you know, but there was a sequel to that game, Geometry Wars Retro Evolved 2, interestingly named, which just looked much better. But at that point, I don't think, at that point, there was no reason to upgrade beyond visuals. And we were still using 4K back then, I think,
Yeah, and I also think the beauty about Geometry Wars has always been its simplicity. I mean, it's very much, if you play it, it also feels like a throwback to 80s arcade games. It was not a game that got harder because they added more, like they overcomplicated it. It really depended on your skill and then these things mobbing you and you understanding it. So it really had that 80s arcade quality of easy to play, difficult to master. You didn't have to overinvest in stats, so you didn't have to buy new ships, so you didn't get like fancy fancy maps or anything like that. It was always kind of the same arena, and you just tried to push it harder. And this was a very important thing. You would play it, and then your buddy would play it, or your buddy, or people would start bragging about their high scores, how high they could hit on that game and all that. So it had a nice community side as well, which again was very 80s arcade game.
Very much. And again, in the spirit of kind of how we roundabout came to this conversation, even last week with rhythm games, is it was something you all stood around the TV for. Everybody, doesn't matter what your persuasion was in terms of gaming, you kind of felt compelled to pick up the controller with this one or the guitar with the rhythm games.
Yes.
I think less so with the Dance Revolution types. So little asterisk. I think being physical with just doing this or just, but I kid, of course.
I think DDR also, the big challenge of DDR was you needed access to a controller to play DDR, and those floor controllers were not that common. DDR was much more of a arcade phenomenon, and there you ran into the other problem that A, it cost you money every time you tried to play it, and B, there were always better guys there wanting to play it as well. Where games like these, because you could play them in your living room, it was just more convenient. You could keep trying, you could keep repeating, you could have friends over and try it. You'd have friends come over and say, hey, I'm here to try this again, let's play this, you know. It was a more social thing. And I think what's important about games like that and Guitar Hero, and you get games out there, they're not games for gamers. They manage to transcend that, and they're just appealing to anybody who wants to play, who just wants to have fun with those kind of things. They're not, and they don't feel intimidated, like, oh no, I'm going to look bad, I don't know how to play it, or because at the end of the day, you could always, everybody failed at Geometry Wars. You would have, it's an infinite game, so you would eventually die in it. So people were keen to try it, and then the great music, the flashing graphics, it was just, it was more than gaming. It actually was a cultural event, if we can put it that way.
Cultural phenomenon. Goodness gracious. You just put a massive label on this, but I think you're right. It certainly, I mean, I think in the spirit of the show that we're doing, it was one of the games that shaped me in that sense.
Well, in that case, I'm gonna do you a solid, Reichardt. If you go to Steam and Google and look for Rhythm Storm, RHYTHM, sorry.
With 2 P's.
No, Rhythm Storm.
No, but just
Sorry, people. It's only going to stand 3 education. You know, it's.
It's.
We had to teach him to talk when we first met him.
This looks nice and exactly like a modern upgrade.
Yes, this is so. This has more to it, more ships, etc. It's got more of a roguelike side to it. It's not pure Geometry Wars, but it very clearly takes from the Geometry Wars mold and puts it into like a modern survivor-like roguelike mold, and it looks stunning on high-end displays. Like they do press it, and then I don't know if we got some audio on this one, but the soundtrack in this thing is great.
So would you call this a clone or an improvement?
A spiritual success.
Andreas saying it was like at school when you just watch 2 dudes playing FIFA in the common rooms. Yeah.
You know, I'm going to be controversial on that topic because I agree. It was great watching those. You know what I never really understood with esports is why are you making me watch Counter-Strike or
Thank you.
Any of that stuff? I don't. I understand those games and I can't really follow what's going on. But if you built esports around things we intuitively get, whether it's something simple like this, and you see who gets the highest score, or whether it's people playing the FIFA stuff. And I know you get in esports, you get where they play FIFA or they do sim racing and all that, but they never promote it. All the big things are, oh, look, we're playing in the show. I'm sure I know nothing about the scene anymore, but Valorant or the Marvel one or all that. And I'm kind of like, you really have to understand the game to understand what's going on. And then on top of it, the editing usually doesn't show you enough. Like, I don't know why in more esports, when they're doing shooters, why don't you just have a top-down map to show me where everybody's running around? So I know, give me a playing field. Like, what's going on here, people? Like, and the only reason why we're hyping up esports so much is because obviously sponsors were into it in a big way, and then there was a core audience going for it. But the difference between that is I don't really watch sports. But if I watch a random thing on the Olympics, or I watch you randomly turn on and there's a soccer match playing or whatever, you know, you can kind of figure out what's going on and you can follow it and you can get into it. And so to me, like, games like sports games, games like straightforward arcade games, that I think if you want to make esports truly mainstream, that's where you put your attention on those
Retro
things.
esports.
Not the flavor of the month of whatever shooter is now that only the people who play the game give a crap about. I mean, if the only people who watched, I don't know, UFC were people who actually fought in MMA, I mean, how many people is that? It can't be that many. Yeah. I'll never fight in MMA or anything like that. But I love watching those fights. And I don't even need to know the rules. You know, you can get in there and watch it. It's like, okay, that's cool.
Man fight man, basic understanding.
No, but yeah.
But I know it's, but you actually, this is probably something we should chat some more about and get some more people commenting. I think it's a double-edged sword in some ways, but I did ask some people a couple of times, every time we speak about esports, when are we going to see at least stuff that when I play like Battlefield, for example, right? If I would be much more inclined to watch a Battlefield match, esports, than I would be, Valorant or any of these games. The question is, are there enough people in those gaming spheres to watch or to participate? I don't know. I think the whole esports model is a bit strange in that sense, right? Because it feels like you have all this pro esports competition, but again, there's a lot of fans in those games. If I look at our team at NAG, they play these games, and I think for them the understanding of enjoyment of it is also different to what ours would be, because we don't really play those titles.
I don't know. I'm not sure. Okay, first I would say, if the criteria for making something esports is because it's popular, that's a stupid criteria. If you look at sports, they start organically with people who enjoy playing them and they become really good at them. And then the audience arrives because they can in some way understand the skills that we see on display. And I think that's the second place we use. So you shouldn't go for like, oh, this is popular. You know why they choose popular? Because that gets the sponsors. But it shouldn't be about money first. It should be about audience first. So why not choose a game that an audience can understand? And that means two things. Choose something that's kind of straightforward. Secondly, present it in a way. Like I said, a top-down map. If you've got 6 guys playing a shooter and you keep jumping between them, I don't know what's going on. And I saw this with Counter-Strike. I know how to play Counter-Strike. I've played a lot of Counter-Strike. I tried watching Counter-Strike esports. It is boring. It is stupid. It is hard to follow. I'm like, you can do this better, guys. But I think, but they don't, because the only audience they attract are the hardcore people who will follow it at that level. So you're not expanding it. I think the second problem is it's flavor of the month. It's not evergreen. Why? The games being played now. Yeah, there you go. That's the clouds agree with me on this one.
No, but I feel the same. This is the same meme that I'm directing at myself. I feel like I agree with you on what you're saying. You're just being a lot more vocal about it than I would be.
It's just, look, esports was around as long as I have had a professional career in gaming. Like, it was not very long from when I started at NAG, when I was still like very junior. And then esports start coming in. And guys have been trying to make this esports thing happen for well over 20 years. And the only thing they can point to is the sponsor money that comes in. And occasionally there's a big event where so many million people, it's bigger than football. It's bigger than the Super Bowl. It's like, well, so what? Online gambling is bigger than the foot. That doesn't mean much. What in longevity counts. And longevity requires at least 2 things: consistency and better presentation, and actually making an attempt to make the audience understand and appreciate the skill levels coming out there. And I think there are games out there. I think the point Andreas makes there in terms of games that don't even have multiplayer, but they've got communities out there, etc. You can maybe dig into there. Find stuff. I mean, speedruns are very popular these days. Why don't we have esports speedruns more? I think I'd much rather watch a person show how they beat a game in 4 minutes than trying to figure out what's going on in a new Euro shooter. Yeah, it's but
what about the Red Bull gaming event where they use a sports game to perform the tricks? So Like, Red Bull does all these things with flying. Just do it in Flight Simulator. Would that appeal to you?
I'll be honest, I probably won't watch any of it. You need to, you know what I would watch for esports are probably more like fighting games, etc. But my point is not like what's it going to take for me to watch esports. My point is, in over 20 years of esports, I'm not sure they've really moved the dial. Honestly, they just keep changing the games, and while they don't talk about it, if you go see the headlines out there, esports is not what it used to be. A lot of the sponsorship money is not there anymore, and it's not. So I think they need to think a little bit harder on either how they're going to attract the audiences or what kind of games they're going to be putting in there or how they're going to create and cultivate actual longevity in there, because the only time I find watching some multiplayer exciting is if I'm literally watching one person over their shoulder and I know what they're doing. But that's not a good way to explain how a match is working. So yeah,
Let's just go back to chess, bro. Let's just cut the cord. Chess.
You get that. There's big competitive chess online.
No,
thanks
no,
to
I'm
COVID.
a big fan of it. And just, I want to get back to in closing, I want to do something. I want to talk about those, why those games are used. There's a couple of good pointers here that I found. If I look at TikTok, for example, well, I guess YouTube and any of these streaming platforms, there's an insane amount of people. And obviously, because I'm into gaming, I would watch these, so it increases in my algorithm. But I objectively see this a lot, and especially the broad selection of people streaming games. Everything from original Nintendo Load Runner to the latest game, right? And every one of these guys have communities. I'm specifically talking about the international big streamers. I mean, we're talking about hundreds to thousands of viewers on these classic games. Now, it's not the esports scenario, obviously, so it's a different use, but people enjoy watching other type of games. So it's not a far stretch to imagine that they would want to watch other games. Now, I had a quick search here to find out why are those games like Valorant, Counter-Strike, League of Legends dominating when it comes to esports. And one of the first points here, and it makes sense, it's a round-based narrative, essentially. Games like these are built like high-stakes poker games. They have discrete 2-minute acts that allow for a cycle of the build-up, the climax, and then the recap when there's instant replays and stuff, and the buy phase in Counter-Strike and that type of thing. The second point here, it says legibility problem. Technical specs for games that look amazing but are visual noise for a viewer. So they're obviously looking at, talking about games that look good to people that watch it. Valorant uses very high contrast characters, outlines, and distinct ability colors, so that even on low bitrate stream, you can tell exactly who's whom. This is what you talked about, the first person or God eye. MOBAs like League of Legends are easy to watch because the camera stays top down. FPS games are harder, but the bomb sight mechanic provides a fixed geographical point for the camera to focus on. Games that lack a central objective, like a pure deathmatch or some arena shooters, are chaotic and nearly impossible to broadcast effectively. Kind of get it. And then the developer-led franchise model. We are seeing more games because the barriers to entry have shifted from organic popularity to developer funding. Riot Games doesn't make Valorant. They run doesn't just make Valorant. They run the entire Valorant Champions Tour infrastructure.
It's like what
for a new
Epic
game
also,
to
in
complete.
fact, that's what Valve learned with a lot of their games. If you run the league,
Yeah.
and we should include there that the influence of hardware developers like Nvidia, especially, if they want to pump out a new card, they like run it associated with one of these popular games, and that's how they kind of they push it out. So I think those
Andreas
points are all
it's spot on there.
Yeah, I think those are valid points. I will say, though, if I look at them, a lot of games are legible on the screen in high contrast. A lot of them are short rounds. Sports games have been doing this forever as well. And frankly, that point about the God's Eye and top down, I'm glad it's in some games. But honestly, if it's not in a game, that game shouldn't be an esports game. Period. It just shouldn't. It's dumb. I was when one of the recent when they were doing esports at, I can't remember, one of the local conventions. So they have screens up above for all of us to see what the individual players are doing, but they never actually show a top-down screen to show the rest of us in the audience, hey, what's going on, you know? Make your big screen in the middle, the top-down screen, and the smaller ones inside for the players and all that.
It's like,
yeah.
No, go for it. It's like watching rugby, to be honest, and maybe it's my imbecile brain, but I like, because that to me, even soccer, right? If you see the pitch top down like that, I wouldn't want to watch that game in first person. Maybe some scenes, because then you get that action, but I want to see I'm enjoying what's happening in the game. And I guess you get that where shoutcasters come in, but yeah. Look, I mean, I do agree with you. I have found, though, the ultimate esports for us. I think that's all we need.
These things.
And it's happening now in March. Not that I'm an Excel champ, but I would watch the shit out of this. Because it's novelty, right? Like, what would you do in an Excel spreadsheet?
It is a novelty. I think what lacks in, but if you're being serious about it, you want something to succeed, it needs to be and it needs to be intelligible to a newcomer, and it needs to be appreciated by somebody who's involved in that. So I enjoy climbing, rock climbing, wall climbing, and all of that. And in climbing, the specific style called bouldering has become very popular, especially thanks to the Olympics and everything. And the nice thing about bouldering is because the actual rounds are very short and the problems are very short. So to explain to people what bouldering is, in normal climbing, you climb with ropes and you climb to heights of 10 meters or more. In bouldering, you don't use ropes, but you don't ever climb higher than, I'd say, 3 meters. And it's a lot harder. It's a lot more technical. But the beauty of that is, if you don't understand what's going on, you can still watch these guys do really impressive stuff and moves and get it. And if you are into it, you can easily see what they're doing, and you can kind of wonder, like, wow, could I do that? Or wow, look how they applied that technique, etc. My issue with a lot of the esports stuff I've watched is just it's kind of chaotic. If you're a newcomer, it's hard to follow what's going on. I don't think the commentators usually do a good job to actually explain to newcomers what's going on. And I think even if you do understand what's going on, because they quick cut so often between players, and because you can't contextualize it often with a proper view of the playing area and all that, you don't have time to really absorb the nuance of what they're doing. And so what I'm going to say fundamentally, I think what esports problem is, it's a presentation problem. I think if you can take almost any of these games. I mean, the points you read out about why certain games are better for esports, I agree, those are valid points. But that, I don't think, is always coming across to the audience. And it should. If anybody wants to challenge me on, like, oh, no, you're wrong, esports makes this much money, yada, 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 explain to me why game streamers playing single-player games get more regular and consistent audiences. Explain to me why speedrunning has, in the last few years, become such a massive phenomenon, and esports is still in the doldrums. Like, esports still kind of feels like the niche industry that it was 10 years ago. Why has it not taken over? Why is it when I open Twitch or YouTube for gaming content, I don't have to bat away several esports things? Why is it sitting in its little corner and it is not a bigger thing? And I think a lot of it has to do with two things. The presentation isn't good and intuitive, and they keep moving to a new game because they're not doing this based on organic growth. They're doing this on popularity. It's always about chasing the next big thing, and eventually you're not going to get consistent audiences or new audiences. You're not going to grow your audience. You're always going to sit with the same few hardcore guys, and then it becomes it's just interesting to them until the game changes, and then they lose interest. And now you've got to find for the new guys and a new game and all that.
Okay, I mean, we're seeing that with esports as it is at the moment. It's usually, unless you, there are some competitions coming out now that's trying to break that mold, but most of the big events are the same organizations or the same teams. So yeah, it's a debate. It's a debate that it's very interesting. I would love to hear from more people. What do you guys think watching in terms of esports? What would you enjoy watching as an esport? Do you watch anything as esports at the moment? Yeah. And what would you watch if you can have any? If there's any game that, I mean, not that this is applicable, but a Red Dead Redemption Online, that would be fun to watch, I would imagine, because not just
GTA,
because I play
GTA
it.
Online esports.
GTA could be,
Why don't we have a GTA Online esport? I mean, that would be way more interesting.
build a criminal empire, and we watch your progress. It's like watching a movie.
Yeah, that would be. I was just thinking, running around, like matches in there. I mean, to the point there, what can we learn from traditional sports and how they do understanding without the commentators having explained we watch? I think what's interesting to your point there, Bumfluffsky, that's a great tag, by the way. You
have to say it out loud.
You tend to have a lead commentator who does not understand the sport that well, or just to a degree, and then you get a color commentator. And the lead commentator understands that you have to constantly explain what's happening to people who don't know what's happening. And the color commentator brings in the really cool stuff. And I'm sure they do that in esports. It's something you can replicate. But it's very difficult when you are constantly cutting to different moments in the game. And they all look like, let's say it's first person, is a guy running with a gun sticking out in front of them. I don't know who I'm watching. I don't know what they're doing. I don't know where they are on the map. How am I supposed to make sense of this, etc.? So I think they should be more creative. I think they need to stop chasing the money and start chasing where the interest is. But that's the issue, In order to go pro, you need money, you need sponsors, etc. Maybe we need to get esport to stop trying to go pro for a while. StarCraft is done, people. Counter-Strike is done. Those days are beyond us. How about we go back to grassroots? How about we find some cool indie games with these strong communities? Pull in those streamers with those strong communities to push the game. Build them up like that. Don't worry about signing up a sponsor or anything like that yet. Just do it for the love of the game, and then do that long enough, and eventually the sponsors will arrive, and eventually the audiences will get bigger.
It's I didn't expect us to talk about esports today, but I think and the chat agrees with us. I think the question is very valid ultimately. Bumfluffsky adds, I think traditional sports is slower, so it's easy to work in some explanations, where esports is so intense, so much happens so quickly. Maybe that's why League has such a large esports following.
It could be. Also, I think simplicity is important. If a good sport usually only evolves around a very basic rule set. And when you make things too complex, however, I don't think they have to be complex. Let me ask you, why is Quake Champions not as big as football these days?
Why is it not as big as Rocket League? Rocket League is big, but why isn't something like that potentially the biggest esports game?
So I think that's a good example. Something like Rocket League incorporates traditional sports ideas, but also with other things you can get an overall view. But even then, I don't see Rocket League esports stuff being thrown at me by algorithms on YouTube or Twitch or whatever. Why is it not bigger? I would say I would love esports to be its own thing, but guys, it's been 20 plus years, and it really doesn't feel like, it really feels like it's just kind of doing the same thing over and over and over. Even though you have games like Quake, or you have games like Rocket League, you have fantastic potential, and occasionally one explodes and we're like, ooh, it's a big deal. It's like, no, exceptions don't count. Consistency, that would be nice. So yeah, I mean, look, I'm just venting here. I kind of feel like esports has always treated itself as more important, and it's never really proven itself to be that important, which is the crucial thing. I mean, what is that?
Look, the thing is, I'm just looking at some of the most popular esports games. What is this? I don't know, by peak viewers. League of Legends, this is last year. League of Legends, MLBB, what's that called again? Anyway. Counter-Strike, Dota, Valorant. What is this game again? Why is this name not coming to me? MLBB, chat, you let us know.
Major League something.
That icon looks so familiar.
I mean, those are impressive viewer numbers, definitely, but...
Mobile Legends.
Let's
Of
compare
course.
that. Look, so that's the biggest esports game is what, 9 million peak. What's the peak of a Mr. Beast video? If I'm just gonna pull a name out here, like the biggest thing happening on YouTube, it's much bigger than that, like much bigger. But that's mainstream. So these things I don't think they go mainstream. I think they still kind of stay within a gaming bracket or in the bracket of an audience, but the people who are in the industry seem to be convinced they're going mainstream, and it's kind of like, yeah, we've been waiting 20 years for you to be mainstream. Maybe it's time to relook at this, revisit it, maybe try some different things. I'm going to say what I said earlier, speed runs. I've been watching speedrun stuff recently, and it's great, and it's very intense, and there's a great community behind it, and it's usually fast, and you can find out what works for you, etc. What you like about it, and if you don't like about it, you can jump to the next one earlier, or to your point, Battlefield or BattleBit, that low poly one that can do like huge 120 player games. Give me a top down map. Give me proper, maybe like what was that guy Madden who used to draw on the screen and show stuff. Maybe we should have that more, some guy on an interactive screen, top down, showing, oh, here's a circle. That's what these guys might be doing. Get some pro commentary in there, and maybe then it'll work. I'm not saying it will work. I just kind of feel what's currently happening is it's paying the bills, but we're not esports has not started to rival any of the other major leagues in consistency.
Agreed. In closing,
No.
our record holding longest podcast yet, James.
Good.
Bamflavsky says sports does well when people align to the teams. Esports teams don't feel like you have a local, home team to competing, because teams are from all over. Yeah, and you've not always, also, I believe, have teams that are, so you'd have a local team with international players or international team with local players. Esports used to work when people still believed they stood a chance to be the next champ, but after the organization started dominating the scene, a lot of people lost interest. Yeah, I think esports in itself, in general, I've actually learned something, I think, today, because what I've realized, what was wrong for me with esports is not necessarily just the games, but I think the whole thing of why would I want to participate or watch. If I look at, let's look at some other things just quickly, like drone racing. I thought drone racing would be much bigger than what it was. I thought Formula E racing would be a lot bigger than what it is, right? Or at least slightly dethrone F1 maybe, obviously understandably not. But there are so many factors when it comes to this. I don't think it's just the car, the mechanic, the team. And for me, esports doesn't have any of those cool factors that I really want to sit down and watch it. I've watched a lot of esports and I do enjoy it in the right time, but it's not
you don't
for
yearn
me
for it. Yeah.
No, I don't. I would much rather wake up at 3:00 to watch a UFC fight. Really, that's what I actually do.
I think all the points are great. If I look at them, firstly, alignment of teams, that's ancient. The Romans used to, with their hippodrome. We'll talk about gladiators, but the Romans loved chariot racing. That was what they were into in the hippodrome, and there used to be legendary fights between, I think it was the blue and red team. And it was great, corruption, all that. So that's the first point. I think the second one is you don't feel like you can be a part of it, and I think that's an important one as well. Not just because of the orgs getting in, but if you're busting your ass on a game and then a new game shows up, there's such a flavor of the month issue sometimes that you can't invest your skills or start young. And that's the other thing. To be good at the sport, you need to start young. What's the point of somebody starting at age 7 to start playing League of Legends that by the time they can turn pro when they're 15, League of Legends isn't the big game anymore? Like, well, then you've wasted your time, essentially. That you need that stability. And then the third one, very good, important point you need to with Formula E. I tried watching Formula E. I love watching it, but the FIA made it so hard to actually watch it, to actually get, like, from contrast what they did with climbing started pumping all the competitions onto YouTube, and that's how they built a big audience, and then they ended up on the Olympics, and now they're even bigger. FIA was so focused on making money from their broadcasts, they never bothered getting Formula E out far enough, in my opinion, to cultivate a larger audience. And I'm not a big racing fan. My brother is, so I would watch it with him. But he never, but we never got an opportunity to watch the stuff consistently, to build a following, etc. And that comes to the third one: who you supposed to follow? What are the teams you're supposed to follow? You know, if there's some Korean player called Monkey Spank, I don't care. You know, he's the world champion of what? Of this game? What? I haven't heard of this game. What's going on here? But if it's a game like, let's just say Quake again or Battlefield. Oh, I get this. I understand how it's played. I know this. It's still the same game. Oh, right. Yeah, this is the champ from the last 5 years. I was watching a broadcast the other day of the CrossFit World Champs. I don't do CrossFit. I mean, I do a little bit of fitness to stay in shape. That's it. I don't do CrossFit. I don't follow any of that stuff. That single broadcast told me who the champs were, told me what was going on, told me who was the prospects, told me what their stories were in a few hours of a few different broadcasts, all posted for free on YouTube. I know more now about CrossFit than I ever knew before. And I just picked on that because I was bored and wanted something to watch and it looked interesting. So to me, all of those things count. Give it a good optics, like make it easy to access, make it sensible when I watch it, make me understand who's involved there, and pick something that's simple and straightforward enough that I can follow it, and stop changing to new games because the sponsors want it. For goodness sake, can we just stop with that? Like the audience is what counts. Otherwise, they're just going to keep doing this over and over and over. And I think it's frustrating because I think there's so much potential in it.
Sure, that's a lot to take in.
Well, I think
Bamfowski said it best. It's a loaded topic. Yeah.
Look, this is you're on the wrong podcast. We're not here to fix things. We're here to complain about things. You know?
I've got a solution.
I've got games and to rant.
Yes. So to wrap up this podcast, which has been fantastic, by the way. Thanks, James. A game like what I'm about to show you, and I mean it in jest, but I think something almost. That's a generic, that sounds bad to say, but a generic game, a game that is going to be like the game of soccer, the game of rugby. It's generic. We have a platform for these, right? You can dress it up with sevens or whatever, but inherently people that enjoy them, I can watch a sevens game, still feel part of it and understand it. And if it's Springboks, be excited about it. But I think something like this, which I always thought was a pretty fun looking game. Then we put gamer to gamer. In a real sense. Have you seen this? Half Sword.
Yes.
It's a weird ragdoll based.
You see, I'd watch this. Yeah, like I tried playing demo. Oh, this is a difficult game. But yes, this you get these very difficult, but you can appreciate what they do games, and like actually this kind of gets to my point. Why not do this as it? Or there are other ones. What is that medieval game, PvP game, where it's like Battlefield but with swords and crap? I can't remember what it's called now.
Yes, man.
I mean,
we'll find it.
Yeah, maybe that. But here's the thing. I will appreciate. So I'm going to ironically quickly defend the e-commerce leagues here. It is expensive to stage these things. What does it take to play football? You need a ball, What does it take to do an esports match? Well, I don't know. You need 12 computers and a network and all kinds of infrastructure. So I appreciate that the entry level is maybe difficult, and I am sympathetic of what they're trying to build. But to my original point, I kind of feel they keep trying to do the same thing, but with new games. How about being more creative? Something like Half Sword. I don't think that's a bad example at all. There are games like that you can really do it. What's that? There's a new game that came out now called Baby Steps. I don't know if you've seen stuff about Baby Steps. Yes. So how about a esports knockout thing where we all play baby sports? There's 6 guys playing baby sports. We all see their screens.
Baby steps.
Baby steps. Sorry. Baby sports. Baby steps. We watch their screen at the same time, and you see all right, last one to fall over or whatever wins. You put something down. You maybe make a custom levels, specifically built for esports, and you test people. Another one is chained together. I mean, Chained Together would be.
What about an open world baby step / half sword kind of hybrid game?
Well, now,
Right?
now
we're going way too.
Yeah.
Let's not. Let's actually. That's how we call it.
Chained Together is another one because great game, but so frustrating. There's just big stuff like that. Put people against each other. I don't need a big explanation. You don't need another lot of hardware to do it, etc. You don't need to make it a direct team versus team thing. You just need to see who's the best of it concurrently. Start building on that. The chivalry games, yes, very good point there, Fluffsky. That's those type of games. If you're gonna do team play, that's the kind of stuff that's interesting. There's real novelty in that. That's more fun to watch. So dive into that. The problem is, of course, you're not gonna get a big sponsor on board. You can do baby steps. But the sponsor's only going to come once the audience builds around it.
It's a difficult conversation because brands and sponsors are on board, and there's so many people that want so many different things, right? Firstly, you want to put up a spectacle, right? So you want to do something cool and get people there. Red Bull did something cool. Oh, we need to wrap up soon. Well, actually, we don't, but yeah, we do. Red Bull did something last year with Tetris.
There we go. World of World Champs. There we go. Yeah, Tetris.
World of World Chess. Yeah, and that was, I thought, hell of a fun. And, I was much more interested in that tournament, much more invested in that tournament than I would have been for any other, because Tetris is a universal game. Like chess.
And even if you don't understand Tetris, after 30 seconds of watching Tetris, you know what's going on. After a minute of watching Wordle, you'll know what's going on. There's something even like Baby Steps, Chained Together, all these games I'm mentioning, you will know what's going on. And then you build up from there. Maybe we can close on this point. I think the point I would want to say is, in order to have an ongoing esports industry, you need to create an ongoing esports culture. And that means you need to start people at the entry level and build their interest in the medium. And then maybe in the future, you can go more complicated games. And I think you can present them better. You can do that. But I think there's too much trying to just turn LAN gaming into a sport, and that's not sufficient. You need to be a bit more out of the box, and we've done this long enough now. We've seen this long enough in esports that we're like, it's time to approach this a bit differently. But yes, I'll leave it on closing. If they do a half sword or a Wordle or chivalry, anything like that, sure, I'll definitely watch that. It's much more interesting than me trying to figure out what's going on in a new shooter, because they're kind of the same, I suppose.
Exactly. Now, thank you very much for that, James. I think so. What I'm hearing, and we'll wrap up with a statement, because I don't want any rebuttals on it. What I'm hearing is what we
see, Reichardt, what I'm thinking is.
Wait. What I'm hearing, we've mentioned we're going to wrap up the solution into one beautiful solution. We need a LAN game environment where it's endurance, televised like a Mr. Beast, with real weapons, like a reality show. Then it's endurance, mental ability, and murder, all in one beautiful game show. Can you imagine how fun that'll be? Last comment from Mr. Van Flasky. Agreed. I think the current esports scene is going to have to grit their teeth and let the industry rebuild properly.
Yeah, I think that's what might get me to watch it, certainly. And look, there's maybe need to accept that certain things will always be niche. Don't even know that, Reichardt, but there is actually a medieval fighting sports league in Europe where guys in full padding and everything, and they go at each other with swords and stuff. It's quite something to watch. I can't remember what it's called, but you get full contact medieval weapon fighting out there.
This looks...
There we go.
Horrific.
And you get teams, but you also get one-on-one.
What game engine are they using here? This is realistic. Is it ray tracing? Must be.
Yeah. So it's got to be Unreal 5.
Give us murder. Yes.
But,
okay, that's interesting.
That's
I
also the other
mean,
thing of esports. Esports is competing. We're in the age of YouTube now. All of these niche
this-
things can get audiences online and etc. So the assumption that there's a natural lineage from playing sports to playing esports as the next big spectacle for the people, that's not true anymore because there's a lot of alternatives. And I think like if you can like this, if you could shoot esports like this instead of me constantly seeing what first person view, show me. I can already figure out more what's going on here than I do if I watch
yeah,
first person.
purple with yellow over there is down.
Yeah, and clearly that guy's trouble, and this guy in yellow looks worried. You know, it's kind of like, but I will never understand this the rules of this unless I want to invest in it. But at least, yeah, I can turn this on and watch it while I'm eating lunch. If I turn on a Counter-Strike game, most of the time I'm halfway and I've just got people shouting at me and I don't know what's going on. It's not.
You make a very good point there. In fact, I mean, if we're going about viewership, right, you can even argue, and I thought about this often. If there's a camera on the taps at the pubs in my area, right? Firstly, you can just see what's happening by that'll be quite therapeutic to watch. But also, you can start a betting system, right? Which taps are going to get out now. So now anyway, we digress so much. There's so many ways we can entertain anything and then have fun out of it. Now, esports sits in that weird spot where it should be fun for everyone because we all love gaming, but for some reason it still doesn't reach everybody. It's not really appealing to the mass consumer.
Yeah, there's a frustration. The potential is there, but I think it's presentation. I also think it's a lack of focus. There's too much focus on players and sponsors. There's not enough focus on the audience. And the sports that actually care to engage audiences and try and attract them. And I don't mean like get a popular streamer because that's still niche in a way. I mean, think about how can I make my grandmother understand what's going on in this game in 30 seconds? If you cannot answer that question, then you need to change something. Either the game you're playing or how you're presenting it. Because in this day and age, if I don't understand in 30 seconds what is going on here, I'm gonna change up and go somewhere else and so forth. And it would be great to see some of these things jump up. I do love watching these things, and I mean there've been great moments like the very famous Street Fighter 2 final, esports final, that is still legendary. I don't even watch Street Fighter 2 and I know about that, but there are so few examples of that because that was accessible, that was understandable, you could follow what was going on. But here you don't have that same advantage with a lot of games, and I think it's a presentation thing because why isn't Rocket League as big as I don't know, football, or you know, why aren't there before a football match a televised 30 minutes of Rocket League matches?
Rocket League should be super appealing to, because it's got the motor racing aspect and the soccer aspect.
Yeah,
I think we should let's pin. I think this is a conversation we need to come back to.
I'm
guys
done
in the
with
chat,
I'm done with
would love
esports.
to.
I'm never going to talk about this
I want to
again.
talk about it some more.
The same bin as
Drop
AI.
us a
We're
comment.
done. These things don't exist.
Okay, we'll exclude James from that conversation. It'll be a viewer show. We'll get callers on to tell us all about their opinion. But yeah, I'm curious because this is part of our job, right? To understand these trends and these elements of gaming, for better or for worse. Anyway, it was a fantastic chat, James. I would love to keep going, to be honest with you, and we potentially can, but
hour and 20 minutes.
I've got other work to do.
Poor Reichart's still going to edit this down for TikTok and all of that crap. So
no, I just use AI to do it. We're good.
Okay, so he makes slop for TikTok. There we go.
Slop, yeah.
Welcome to the slop factory. We're just here to feed the machine.
Well, we put quality in, so it's going to be quality out. Thanks, everybody. Thank you so much for watching and staying tuned till the very end. And if you're watching after the fact, please do drop a comment and let us know any of your thoughts. We'd love to read it. See you next week.
And just before you run off, those 3 demos, we gotta go. Outbound, and what was it? Darkvale. No,
I closed all my tabs now. Dark. Yeah. You guys can just rewind to the beginning of the show quickly.
Yeah, rewind to the beginning. But
sorry to give you. That's your homework.
Yes, for weekend we want reports on Monday. 5 5-page essays on each demo, please. All right.
Cheers, guys. Cheers, Bam.
All right,
Fafski.
cheers,
Have a
have a good
lekker one. Cheers, guys. Ciao.
Bye.